I suffered from severe arthritis. I had constant pain in my legs and sometimes had great difficulty walking, and at first I received conservative treatment without improvement. During my treatment, I spent a lot of time in prayer and Bible study. Then the doctor advised me to undergo surgery this time because the conservative treatment was not effective. Then we set a date for the surgery, and I contacted my church members and family and asked them to pray for me. On the morning of my surgery, the nurse told me that I was the most relaxed person she had ever seen before surgery. My husband and children were by my side as they took me to the operating room. They walked with me for a while, and then they stayed in the waiting room. They kissed me and then left. When I entered the operating room, they gave me an anesthetic. I woke up and I found myself on the ceiling of the room. I heard the doctor cursing angrily and ordering the nurses to get more blood bags. There was a commotion, people rushing out and back in, and I remember my face was pale. I knew it was my body I was seeing, but didn't feel panic or concern. I walked effortlessly through the walls of the room and into the hospital hallway. I felt no resistance as I passed through walls or doors. As I drifted down the hallway, I noticed an elevator door open and a man rushing out. His anxiety caught my attention. So I looked at him and noticed that he was wearing a brown jacket and that he was carrying a bag. He hurried toward the operating room, slowing down at the entrance to the operating room. There was a conversation with another doctor. I don't remember their conversation, but I know the man was also a doctor. They were arguing. The doctor was complaining about the doctor in the brown jacket. I didn't hear them, but I could know telepathically what each one was thinking, and suddenly I started to go through the ceiling of the hospital, like I was being pulled by some mysterious force. I continued to rise until I crossed the roof and found myself over the hospital. After exiting the hospital, I began to go over the city at an even faster speed. Just then, I realized that I was moving so fast that I should have felt the wind blowing past me and should have noticed the difference in the air temperature, but I felt none of this. I remember rushing into a cave-like place where I moved quickly for a while, and then I became aware of a small bright light ahead of me. I came into the light, and I saw the back of a man, and I subconsciously thought I should follow him. I noticed that he had very long hair and was wearing a long white robe of a rather coarse material and sandals on his feet. We walked up a flight of steps, and before us was a gorgeous idyllic landscape with a meadow full of bright flowers that I had never seen before. There was a small river in the meadow. We came to the river, and on the opposite bank I saw loved ones who had died. They were gathered together. I saw my father and my brother first. They looked and saw me, and they were as excited as I was. Then I noticed one person I didn't recognize, and later realized it was my great-grandfather, who had died before I was born, so I had never seen him before. I could reach them telepathically. I couldn't remember what they were wearing or even what they looked like, but it was definitely their spirit, and as I thought about crossing to the other side to hug them, my guide who was leading me telepathically told me that I had to go somewhere else first and that I had to follow him. I followed him around a bend, and I saw a beautiful Greek-style building in the distance. It was vibrant white with many steps leading up to it and huge columns in front of it. Many people were wearing vibrant white robes. They were milling around outside, going in and out. My guide took me inside, and inside was a huge library filled with books. My guide told me that it contained the book of life as described in the Bible. We walked to the back room where some people were sitting in chairs around a screen, and they told me that I would be watching a review of my life. But just as importantly, I would be able to experience the impact of my actions on others. After watching, no one came out and criticized me. But I felt a great deal of guilt inside for the people I had hurt. Then they showed me what was going to happen to me in the future, if I chose to return to Earth. Some things would happen and some things wouldn't. I next saw the hospital scene, the doctor who operated on me and my husband talking, the child sitting on the couch in the hallway. I wasn't able to hear their conversation, I just saw the scene. Then I saw the image of my family and friends saying prayers. Each prayer appeared like a note, and one after another, stretching toward where I was. I remember that when I was a little girl, I prayed desperately for my father not to die. It seems that my prayers were not answered and my father died. I knew I could not leave my children without a mother, just as I had been left without a father at a very young age. As difficult as it was to leave this place of love, I knew I had to go back. They told me that the things I saw coming in the future would be erased from my memory, and that if I was allowed to keep those memories, choices made in my future life might be changed, and I kept some memories that led me to believe that my experience was real. And it wasn't long before I woke up in a hospital bed with my husband and child standing over me. I knew that my experience was completely real. God's love stayed with me during those weeks, and I really entered the spiritual realm with God. I was in the hospital for 12 days after the surgery, first in the intensive care unit and then in the regular ward. I was fully confident that I would recover because I knew I was back here for a reason, and at first I didn't tell my family what I was going through. I still remember how surprised I was when the doctor who saved me came to visit me for the first time. We had never met before that time, and he was the doctor in the brown jacket. This doctor was very warm and kind. I went home to rest for half a month, and shortly after I came home, I shared my experience with my husband, and I told him that while I was in surgery, I lost so much blood that my soul left my body and walked out of the operating room. I saw the doctor. I didn't know who he was at the time or why he was there. I told him how he was hurrying towards the operating room and was wearing a brown jacket and carrying a bag. I saw that he was stopped at the door leading to the operating room, which annoyed him, and I shared some of the experiences of seeing a loved one who had passed away.